New poll says Angus Taylor is now the preferred Prime Minister. The Resolve Political Monitor poll has the coalition leader on 33%, leading Albanese on 30%. Angus Taylor spent the past hour taking questions from Sky News viewers, and my personal favourite was this question from Brett in Albury. Now, listen to what Angus Taylor says, but keep your eye on Brett's reaction.
I keep hearing you say that we need to get rid of net zero. Mate, will you formally withdraw from the Paris Agreement?
Thanks, Brett.
Thanks, Brett. Thanks for the question. Look, we will get rid of net zero. We're not proposing to get out of the Paris Agreement because, frankly, it's not going to change anything we do.
Did you see Brett shaking his head? He was having none of that. And when our colleague Paul Murray asked Brett to explain his obvious dissatisfaction, well, Brett from Albury did not miss.
I just think that actions speak louder than words, Paul. Mate, if you're prepared to get rid of net zero, why not get rid of the agreement?
Telling Australians they're ditching net zero while remaining in an international treaty that commits us to net zero doesn't exactly engender trust, Danica.
No, Brett was very loud about his response to that, and good on him. And I actually do agree with that. I mean, Paris requires emissions reduction targets, right? So we're already down this net zero 2050 pathway down into the never, never. But you've got the Liberal Party saying, no, well, we're going to stay in Paris, but we're not committed to net zero by 2050. I mean, if you stay in Paris, does that not signal that you are then committed to trying to achieve and attain these reduction targets? I mean, I feel like the Liberal Party are a bit half in, half out on this because they're not climate zealots, are they? Because they're saying, no, we're not interested in net zero by 2050, but they're not necessarily climate deniers either because they're saying, well, we need to stay within the Paris Agreement. So I almost feel like, is this some sort of a middle road that the party is opting for, maybe to appease the teal vote in a number of these city seats? I mean, that's all that I can really put it down to. I just don't quite understand why you would bother staying in Paris if you're not committed to net zero 2050.
For the first time since the federal election, the person sitting in the top job is no longer the most preferred person for the top job. Let that one settle. The latest Resolve Political Monitor, conducted for the Sydney Morning Herald and The Age, found opposition leader Angus Taylor leading Prime Minister Anthony Albanese as preferred Prime Minister, 33% to 30%, the first time Taylor has nudged ahead on that metric. That is not a landslide. That is a 3-point margin. But in Australian politics right now, a 3-point swing in the preferred PM stakes is the kind of number that gets framed out and hung on the wall in opposition offices. So how did we get here? One word: budget. The first national poll since the federal budget found Labor's primary vote slumping 3 percentage points to just 29%, while One Nation climbed to 24% and the coalition held steady at 23%. And if you think a primary vote of 29% for a sitting government sounds uncomfortable, you are correct. That is the kind of number that focuses minds in caucus very quickly. A separate news poll in The Australian found perceptions of the budget's impact on the economy were the worst recorded since Labor's post-election budget in 1993, with just 22% of respondents rating it good for the economy and 47% rating it bad. For context, that 1993 budget is not remembered fondly. This comparison is not the benchmark any government is chasing. The policy flashpoint driving much of the backlash is the government's proposed changes to capital gains tax and negative gearing. Prime Minister Albanese pushed back on suggestions the reforms amounted to a death tax and pointed to a range of exemptions outlined in the budget, while Treasurer Jim Chalmers defended the measures as fixing what he described as a broken status quo in housing. The government's position is that this is a long-term structural reform worth near-term political turbulence. The electorate, at least in this week's polling, is not entirely convinced. Meanwhile, two prominent former Liberals defected to One Nation over the weekend as the Conservative minor party surged following the budget, adding to the growing pressure on Taylor to consolidate the right-of-centre vote rather than watch it fragment further. The preferred PM number tells one story. The primary vote numbers tell another. Together they paint a picture of a political landscape that is shifting fast and in multiple directions at once. That is your federal analysis for today. If you want sharp, no-nonsense breakdowns of Australian politics as it actually happens, subscribe to the channel and drop a comment below. We read every single one.